We're ready.
Time being 10 o'clock, call the meeting to order. This is the Raleigh Municipal Light Plant Board of Commissioners meeting, February 12th, 2013. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. The first item on the agenda is review and approve meeting minutes from previous meetings if available. Did everybody get a copy of the minutes?
Yeah.
Is everybody read it?
I already read it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Is there any questions, changes?
I couldn't see anything, no.
Okay. We can entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes from previous meeting.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to accept the minutes of November 20th, 2012 Commissioners meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Dave, you have the copy to sign. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 2 on the agenda is Daniels Road property discussion. Property future, spoke with Raleigh Housing Authority.
At our last meeting, we brought up the Daniels Road property again to discuss the property and the property's future. And it was advised that we should speak with the housing authority, the Raleigh Housing Authority, and see if they were still interested in the property, because there was some discussion previously about them actually having a renter come into that property, and the logistics of that weren't really talked about. So I had a discussion with Joan Peterson last week about the property and what the future of the property is or was with the Raleigh Housing Authority.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what she had told me is there's a lot of things up in the air with the Raleigh Housing Authority, with the redistricting that's going on. I believe the Raleigh Housing Authority will become part of a district agency or a county agency. I'm not sure how that's all going to play out, but her personally, I believe they weren't really interested in the property as it sits, because of the fact that it does need some work to get it up to speed and up to code for a family to go in there. She did mention that there may be some organizations that may be willing to come in and do the work to get the house up to speed. She mentioned Habitat for Humanity as one organization that may donate time, materials to come in and basically rehab the property. But not sure how that would all work as far as us being a municipal agency with a, I know we're a non-profit organization, but we do generate revenue for our plant, and that would be considered part of our plant because it's in our name.
Mm-hmm.
So not sure how that's going to work. I'm going to throw out a suggestion that maybe we may want to pursue, and it's up to the board to decide if we want to go that route. My thought was to subdivide the property into 2 pieces. Take a portion of the property in the back for a future expansion for the substation, and subdivide the portion out front into a with the house lot or the house and the existing outbuildings as another portion of the piece of property, and maybe down the road declare that surplus and basically go through that process and give that to the town. Then if the town you know, and I haven't approached anybody in the town about this, I wanted to go through the commissioners first. If the town decided to do so, then they could just give that property to the Raleigh Housing Authority, and then the process would be for them to go to the Habitat for Humanity and see if they would come in and rehab the house and fix it up. And this is the first time we discussed this with any of you, so I don't expect to, any, off the top of the head answers to the questions, but, it's something for some thought as far as if we want to pursue that, or if we have other ideas, then we can talk about that as well.
Well, originally, Dan, the property was 2 lots. Now, because it's been under common ownership for more than 2 years, it's probably considered a single lot at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there is an ability, possibly an ability in a way, to subdivide it back again.
Okay.
But it would have to be out of our name into something else. But we need to look at that.
Okay.
One of the things I found interesting this past couple of weeks was that Newburyport did a homeless shelter, homeless person survey throughout the whole area here in Essex County. And one of the issues they find is that there are very few properties for families to be able to live in. So it would be a shame not to be able to make use of that property for the family if at all possible.
And I do understand that. The property, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, was originally we acquired the property for substation expansion and maybe housing and operations center on the property. The plans themselves that were drawn up by the previous manager, I don't think they would work for us. I'm not sure. I don't know if there was discussion on that.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't the original intent.
Okay.
Back when I was there anyway. It was more we were kind of forced into doing it the way we did in order to find a site to put the substation on.
Okay.
We were getting kind of desperate at that point, and we started the substation process, and the site that we had originally chosen wasn't available. So we kind of had to scramble a little bit, and we came up with that site, and the arrangement that we finally made with it was the owner's arrangement. That's the way he wanted to have it go through.
Okay.
So that's basically how we wound up with the site itself.
Okay.
But I mean, it'd be a shame if we can't just make some use of it.
Yeah.
I think through the years we had always determined that we definitely need that property at some point in time,
Mm-hmm.
particularly for expansion. I don't know, you probably haven't had a chance to really look around and see where that transmission line goes, but there are very few spots that would really work for that one.
For another substation location.
Right.
Yeah, I
We do
totally
have another
understand.
piece of land on Route 1. I think it's at some point in time that will be available, it is available to us. That would be a spot to put another station, depending on what happens on Route 1.
Okay.
With the industrial park and that type of thing. I mean, that was kind of the reasoning behind that at the time we bought that. So,
Right. I totally understand the need for the housing, and I thought one of my decision-making process with that was, I think the town or the Raleigh Housing could make better use of the property than us as renters.
mhm.
We're,
Well, I definitely don't want to get into the rental business.
mhm.
I don't think that's something we should be trying to do. And it would be nice if the housing authority could either wind up with the land or at least, at the very least, use a leasing or licensing avenue to make it available to them.
Okay. It may be something we're gonna have to wait on to find out what happens with the Raleigh Housing Authority.
Well, I think the whole state's kind of up in turmoil now with this particular proposal by the governor
Mhm.
to consolidate all these units. And the feedback we're getting is that it's probably not going to fly. And
Okay.
the legislators don't seem to think that's a good idea.
Okay.
But it's going to take time. It'll be a while before that goes through. So I think your suggestion is probably what we need to do is kind of sit on it a little bit.
Okay.
Once the weather breaks, we might even be possible to do some rehab on the garage and use it for storage, those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, obviously we want to get the barn down
Right. Yeah, I mean,
once the weather breaks, but, I mean, I think we can make some use of it.
okay.
The storage would be nice to put some scrap wire and stuff in, and, you know, stuff that we're not gonna be using right away and things like that.
I would probably make it available to not only us, but, you know, to the other town departments as well, as a storage site. You know, that garage is in fairly decent shape,
Right.
so we could actually do that. Okay. But I would say we probably table any discussion as far as the actual property until after we hear what's going on with the Raleigh Housing Authority. Do you want?
Yeah, I would like, at least on my side of the issue, is to make it available to them if they wanna use it.
Okay, all right. And I will start the process as far as the barn being torn down again. If I start the process now, it's late February, March, April by the time we get everything squared away, so with the advertisement and whatnot, so we can,
It'd be just about right, April, May, somewhere in May, June, in that area.
yeah, okay.
So does the board want to take a vote to table the damage to our property until we can get a better handle on it?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we table that for discussion in future. What will happen with the Raleigh Housing Authority.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to table the damage to our property discussion to be able to work with the housing authority. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 3, RMLP Town Warrant Article, A, pilot payment for 2013.
As an annual housekeeping thing, we do put two, as far as I understand, two articles in the town meeting, and one is for the pilot payment, one is for the annual RMLP article for our funds as far as that goes. I'm not sure how this was handled in the past. Maybe the board can kind of give me the how this was handled. I do have the copy of the board votes if you want to vote on them, and I'll hand those out now. One of them is the pilot, and one of them is the annual town meeting vote. No, just for discussion purposes, is this something that annually is done at the commissioners' meeting and then sent to the town to put on the town warrant article?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Do actually
Pass it, Jim,
make the payment of all taxes, and then I'm not sure if that shows up on the warrant itself, the actual town meeting articles. I know the standard article does.
Yep.
Which gives us the authority to spend the money, and that's in itself is a little bit ambiguous.
Yeah. As far as the pilot payment goes, I did talk to the town accountant and whatnot. I know there's no actual cash payment. It's all,
Right,
it's
just
in the
basically a letter sent to the town. And there should be something in the file, I
Right,
think,
yeah.
as to what the wording is on that letter.
Okay.
Okay, is there any discussion from the board?
No.
Hearing none, we're gonna make a motion?
To do what? What are we talking about?
Well, I gotta give one here, either one or the other.
Motion to, for the payment and lieu of taxes to the town of Raleigh.
Okay,
You have to say it, no?
yeah, wait a minute, we take the vote.
With the vote?
Second?
Second it.
Okay, that payment amount will be $30,486.43. All those in favor of making the payment in lieu of taxes to town, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, the other article is the annual, non-municipal light plant article. It's a standard article that goes on the town meeting floor. And it's to appropriate the income from the sales of electricity to private consumers or for electricity supplied to municipal buildings, municipal street lighting, or for municipal power, and from sales of appliances and jobbing during the current fiscal year to the municipal light plant. The whole to be expended by the general manager of the municipal light plant under the direction and control of the municipal light board for the expenses of the plant for said fiscal year is defined in section 57 of chapter 164 of the general laws, upon condition that if said income shall exceed said expense for said fiscal year, such expenses shall be transferred to the construction fund of said plant and appropriately used for such additions thereto as may be authorized by the municipal light board. Is there any discussion? Entertain a motion?
Motion to accept the annual town meeting warrant article for the amount of money to well,
It's in excess of the plants.
acceptable to the town.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, agenda item number 4, discuss rate study for RMLP rates.
There was a rate study that was talked about in previous managers. I believe Linda and both Christina had talked about doing a rate study for RMLP. That rate study was never completed, or I don't think ever really started between either manager. I've had kind of a little bit of trouble getting the person to, actually Eric and I met with him just before January, like the end of last year.
Yep.
And spoke with him about getting us some more information, just moving forward with the rate study itself. I have not heard back from him since. That kind of worries me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that from looking at his proposal and what he was going to charge for the rate study, I believe we could probably do better. And I'm thinking that, we should probably, or I should look into maybe going elsewhere for that rate study. And because it shouldn't take more than 6 months to do a rate study, and it's been over two plus years now,
Mm-hmm.
so. That's what I'm gonna recommend going forward, so I'll put some feelers out, get some prices from different entities as far as doing a rate study, and then we can talk about them at our next meeting.
Okay. I think it's something we definitely need to do, Dan. I really do. I mean, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, was when the contracts changed. And I think we always had the same thing over in Merrimack at the same time. Constellation kind of went south on us.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew that the rules were changing and the prices were going to go up as far as transmission and those types of services.
Right.
So we were kind of concerned about it, and we knew that we were going to be shocked that year. And in fact, we were. But luckily, things kind of turned around, and I think right now we're probably making a pretty good income as far as rates go. And I would certainly want to try to look at those and see if we can do some adjusting to give some relief to the ratepayer.
Okay.
So I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I definitely think it's time to take a look.
Yep, I totally agree.
Makes sense.
Mm. Yeah, we should be doing that.
Lower it, and make the people happy.
Well, you know,
We
along,
can.
yep, and along the same lines, did lower the PPA again in February by another 0.5 cent.
Good.
So the rates have dropped by a full penny as of January 1. As far as the PPA goes, not the
The base rate, right?
not the base rate, just the PPA rate has dropped by a penny.
But I think the time frame has been such that we could look at the base rate and see if we can make that adjustment, you know, and maybe we need to go up.
Mm.
You know, there's always that possibility also, so.
The base rate, looking at the rates for the light department, they're very competitive, the base rate. The actual PPA is where the adjustment has been made over the past, I'm not sure how long, but that's where the adjustments have been made, and that's
Quite a while.
probably where we'll continue to make the adjustments, is the
Sure.
PPA.
Yeah, and I think that's why if we're all high, that's where it's gonna be in the PPA.
Okay. I will continue to look at that going forward. I did, like I said, lower it by a whole penny. I'm waiting for the accountant to finish doing the January income statement balance sheet. That way I can see where we're at going forward. I'll probably leave it. I probably won't do an adjustment in March, but I'll look at it again in April and make another adjustment in April. Just so you
Okay.
know, we're all on the same page as far as
Yeah.
that goes.
Yeah, speaking of shoulder months, it's probably not too bad anyway at this point.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, agenda item 5, Valley Municipal Light Plant financials for year ending December 31, 2012.
I put together just a spreadsheet as far as the year-end financials for the RMLP. Bob, would you like a copy? You want to look at the agenda too, or you just?
Yeah, sure.
This is the last item, so
Okay.
I'm sorry I should have offered some.
Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome. I'll give you a minute just to kind of look over this, and then I'll kind of explain what I did here as far as the spreadsheet goes.
Wow.
There's some numbers that'll jump out at you, but we'll talk about that.
I always had a question about the municipal sales,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew there was something wrong here, Dan. I don't know where it is, what happened, but the net income,
Yeah, it's high.
so we definitely need to look at that,
That's why I've been adjusting the rates down with.
that rate study, there's no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see where that purchase power cost really dropped that last year, in the previous year.
Well, if everybody's ready, or you want another minute to look it over, we can.
phenomenal rebate program too.
Yeah, it's doing very well. I've got to get the new, the 2013 form off on the website, and just a question on that, since you brought it up. Is that something the board voted on a yearly basis, or is that something that we're just gonna continue going forward?
I think when we voted to adjust the rebates.
Okay,
But I don't think we needed to vote every year to keep the program going,
okay, good.
even if we make adjustments.
All right, I left the rates basically the same from last year, so.
Okay,
All right.
that should be fine.
Notes.
Okay, looks good to me.
There are a few items that jumped out on me on this, and I'll just kind of, and it stopped me if you have any questions on any individual line item, but a few things jumped out on me. One of them, as Bob said, the municipal sales, and the other one that jumps out on me is the commercial sales. There has been some adjustment in certain customers' rate classification. Mark Bixby's been looking at the way some customers are classified in our rates to make sure they're in the right commercial rate. There is a commercial rate that's not demand, and there's the commercial rate that is demand. We're looking at some customers that have been basically not paying demand that probably should be paying demand. So we're looking at, and that's some adjustment you'll see there. Some of the customers have been changed. Their rate has been changed to a demand rate, so that'll make me account for the differences in classes.
Okay.
And I have to look back at that to see what the history was, see how many customers have been changed, how many customers haven't been changed. And going forward, look at the customers that should be changed. And I think that might be some of the thing with the municipal sales as well. I don't know for sure, but that's something I need to look into.
Okay.
The next thing that jumps out at me is the total income. You'll see that it's very close to last year, which is very good, considering that what I've heard throughout the municipal industry is that a lot of electric departments have seen a decrease in their revenue and their sales. And if we're maintaining near to, or maybe a little bit more than what we have in the past, I think we're doing very well. The next thing that jumps out at me is the purchase power. Of course, Bob just already mentioned that about the reduction in the purchase power from last year. One thing is that in the way our contract was structured is we made natural gas locks for the generation for our power.
Yeah.
Well, in the last year of our contract, a lot of the gas locks were only made at 50% or 75%, which means we were open for those gas locks for 50 and 25%. So gas prices, everybody knows, natural gas prices dropped significantly last year. So we were actually leaving those positions open to go to what they call the penultimate date of every month. So we were getting gas prices in 3 and 4 cents for a lot of those months, which dropped our purchase power down significantly. And whatever we didn't purchase in our contract or didn't get from other suppliers, we purchased in the open market. And the open market, due to the decrease in gas prices, was also very low. So we were talking about buying 4 and 5 cent power in the open market, which helped significantly to reduce our cost for last year.
Yep.
So that's why you'll see that reduced cost last year. in a nutshell, basically.
That's a good thing.
Yes. One other thing that jumps out on me is the uncollectible accounts.
And I saw that, that's excellent.
That, yes, and we need to look, I need to go over basically the old accounts and find out if there's any accounts that we do need to write off going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I would ask the board what the process was in the past for that. I'm not sure if the board, if we came to the board with a list of write-offs and the amount, and basically the board signed off on it, or you let me handle that.
As I remember that, we used to kind of look at them each year after we did the DP report, and then make a determination which ones we needed to really kind of get out of the system, so we
Okay.
weren't carrying it anymore. And it was basically a manager's
I know each municipality is a
way
little
to do
different
it.
as far as that
And
goes.
I don't see any problem with you being able to make that decision. I mean, just inform the board of it.
Okay.
But as far as making the decision, you should be able to do that fine.
Okay. The next thing that jumps out at me is the employee pension and benefits. And that may be just, and I have to find out, I don't know, I haven't researched that one yet, but that may be just an increase from the town as far as our pension payments and.
Well, paying pension, insurance, et cetera.
Mhm.
And I think part of the pension part would be annual salary increases, would add to it again.
Mhm.
So I saw that, Dan, and I thought of that. It was probably the biggest part of that is the extra cost for the services that we get from the employees.
Right, okay. That's kind of why I thought it was, but I just wanted to make a note of it.
Yeah.
And the last item that I have of note is basically the total expenses have dropped by almost $500,000 from one year to the next, which is awesome. That is great.
Mm-hmm.
To maintain the level of service that we do and still decrease expenses by $400,000 from one year to the next is awesome.
Unbelievable. And be able to survive the storm that we just had, not only that one, but the ones prior to that we had this past summer. Still be able to do this and have very few outages is absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And another reason why we need to look at if our revenue is staying constant and we're decreasing our expenses, that means we can basically give that back to our customers with a rate reduction.
Yeah.
You know, and that way, if we can do our business the way we are and still make money, then we're doing very well.
As you know, the state likes to see about an 8% max
Mm-hmm.
in total profit. For many years, we targeted 4%, half of that, and did really well with it. So I don't know we were going to follow up this year, but it may be something to think about.
Well, along those lines too is we have to keep in mind that at some point we have our OPEB liability that we're going to have to start funding.
Exactly.
So we're going to have to figure that into our expenses at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And I can look back, but it's easier for me to ask the board as far as if that language, the OPEB language, was adopted by the town and the board, or just the board, or just the town, because there's different wording on that.
I think the town has adopted theirs. I'm not sure, it's in my recollection that while I have been here, that it was adopted by the board. I
Okay.
don't know if it was done before I got here, but
It's fairly recent, so it's not something that's been around for that long. I would say the last 4 or 5 years probably it's been something that's really.
yeah. No, it's about the length of time I've been here.
Okay. I will look into that, and basically in a future meeting, I'll ask the town if they've actually got, what their language says or actually states for the OPEB, and find out if the light department was included. If it's not, then I'll definitely get the language for us to adopt. That way we can start funding that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you guys have any questions on this sheet? I mean, I know it's a lot of information to throw at you, but if you have any questions, please.
No, it was excellent, Dan.
Any questions from the audience? No? Okay.
Good and thorough, Dan, good job.
question. When do you put forward your budget for the coming year?
That's a good question, because I was gonna ask the board that very question. In looking through my records, I don't see an actual budget per se that we had. Is this something that I'll leave it at that.
To my knowledge, Dan, there probably never was a budget.
Okay.
At least for the short time, because the short time I've been back, we never saw a budget.
That being the case, I will work on that, and
I think it's time.
I will get that to you, and I should be able to make it by the March meeting without much trouble, unless something else comes up, but I should be able to have the budget to you by the next meeting. That will include a capital budget and a expense budget, so everybody understands what our expenditures are going forward.
That'd be great.
Okay. I'm just making more work for myself.
If I could change hats for just a second, I would like to say thank you to the manager and the crew for the help over the weekend in fixing up the town hall. We did have kind of a dilemma there, and I know from the town hall side of the issue, we appreciate it very much.
I know when we had our Raleigh Emergency Management meeting, I wanted to offer our support, as much as we could. I offered the garage because if the power does go out, I know, like the highway doesn't have a generator, they can come over and use the garage if they need to fix their trucks. So.
Right.
But we did offer our services to the town in general, if need be.
Bob Snow, can't say me, 7th on his line, but I'd just like to add, I was there when the portico, after the portico got damaged, and I want to commend Mark Bixby and the crew for coming over there, placing 2 cross arms together, and they did a splendid job of helping the town out in a real tough situation. It's amazing what you can do with 2 cross arms and a couple of light bolts.
We have a really good crew, and they're good at what they do, and they understand that type of thing. So I will pass that along definitely to the crew, Mark and the crew, as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Dan, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, is there anything else that anyone wants to think about? Hearing that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second that motion.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep.
It's just